all you fabulous faces, it's your girl, Harpy Daniels.
I'm SAD, and SAD stands for successful and dangerous, smart and dedicated, sassy and dramatic, strong and determined, spicy and delicious.
So that's Joshua Kelly, whose stage name is Harpy Daniels. Harpy's a sailor who says he's not a man or a woman. And the Navy picked this guy to help recruit cadets. Harpy advertises how great the Navy is by dressing in drag.
This video is brought to you by TatumStore.com. TatumStore.com. Get the merch link in the description section, ladies and gentlemen. We be putting out bangers. This is the hottest shirt on the store right now. Every shirt we put out like this go harder than hard. So two genders. All you got to do is put two genders into the discount section, and you'll get 25% off of this shirt. Matter of fact, I think it's 25% off the entire store. So 25% off, put in two genders, the number two genders, and go, and the link is in the description section. Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live, make a video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment this video, share this video. Let's get in this. It says Space Force commander fired for criticizing CRT, rips Navy's turn to drag queens for recruitment. And I think I was mentioning this earlier, that the Navy decided that the people of this country and the men of this country are somehow so wimpish that if they had a man dressed like a woman, it would encourage young men to be a part of the Navy. To this point, I don't understand how the branch with one of the baddest tactical units to ever exist literally is using a tranny or a mentally deranged man to recruit for them. Do we have that video? I didn't fully watch the video because I didn't want to throw up in my mouth at the time. But there is clearly a cross-dressing person on the recruiting video, authorized, produced by the Navy. You know, like one of the callers said earlier, this appears to be something orchestrated. It doesn't appear to be organic. Not unless they putting something in the water, like Alex Jones would say, because they did this with frogs. It's funny because Alex Jones gets on there and he said, "Man, they're turning the frogs gay." And everybody got mad at him. They're turning the frogs gay. Look, haha, he's a lunatic. He got a 10-4 hat. No, it is a concept where certain water downstream and the frogs were exposed to it. I think it was estrogen or something like that. The male frogs were literally humping other male frogs. They were not mating with the females like they're supposed to. And I would not be shocked if the same situation is not happening to humans. Like, are they putting something in the water that's turning people gay and crazy? When I was growing up, I never heard of some of this stuff. That was, 2005. When I was in high school, they weren't teaching critical race theory. And I was in high school in 2005 and I graduated, and there was no trans people. That wasn't even a thing. If it was a trans person, it was some weird person in a corner of the classroom with blue hair somewhere, confused with their identity, maybe emo or something. There was no such thing as trans people. When I was in college, I had never seen a trans person a day in my life, never heard of it. It wasn't even a thing. There was no trans celebrities. That's in 2005 to like 2009. I remember I took study of sexuality or something. It was like one of those gen eds you got to take. And they brought a trans person in, and they were talking to us about hermaphrodites and stuff like that. So it was, and the guy ended up killing himself, actually, the guy that was on the video, featured on the video. I think he came to the classroom. He later killed himself. But I felt bad for him. I don't feel bad for these other people. I felt bad for him because he was born with both sexual organs. He was a hermaphrodite. And his parents picked wrong. They wanted him to be a boy, so they picked him as a boy, even though he didn't have any male genitalia. And so he was living a life as a boy. He was actually a girl. Like, that's a difference. The man was born with a vagina thing. You know, you get what I'm saying? He was born with more of a vagina and female internals, and his mama and them made him a man, a boy, and so they kind of raised him like that. And when he got older, he realized he was a girl. Like, he literally could never get a woman because he had a vagina thing. I don't know if it was complete or whatever, but it was kind of like that. And then they showed like some cross-dressing trannies in there, and it was weird. But it wasn't mean because they weren't trying to thwart women's sports and do all this other stuff. It was just awareness. Like, hey, people out here are like this. So if you run into a person, this is what they feel like. This is what they do. And it was like, oh, that's cool. That's good information. Wow. I have empathy for these people. It was a mental illness. Like in the video, they were saying how they're mentally distraught. And they just trying to figure it out. Back then, it was normal to get educated on these things. Nowadays, they want you to be trans. Nowadays, they want you to think there's more than two genders. Two sexes. Like, it's... Y'all got to imagine, I do this every day. Like, I'm exposed to the stupidity every day. It literally is make my head want to explode. You know that there's a concept of sex and gender, and they are essentially different. And let me tell you why. Normally, the human anatomy is based on sex. It's really not based on gender. And gender is not necessarily it's not referring to humans. Gender is referred to the feminine or masculine in the English language. And this is where things get weird, because we should be only addressing the sex of a person. I would argue there's no such thing as human gender. It's sex, male or female. And that's what you are. That's it. And in English, you have a masculine or feminine word. And in many cases, they were associated with the masculine and feminine person, like the energy of a male or female. So that's why when you read in the Bible and it says, it explains an inanimate object and refers to it as she, or it refers to it as he. It's not really talking about a male or a female. It's really talking about the masculine and the feminine. And in the context today, we've associated that so closely and directly with sex that it's almost absolute, to the point where people are trying to misconstrue and say, well, I'm a man, or I'm male, and I'm a man by sex, I'm a male by gender. And therefore they can then create the gender spectrum and say, well, technically, gender is not just a man, it's masculine, and this is feminine. So then there's a person who's emasculate or effeminate, and then they create these genders for that, and then they make it a spectrum. But that's not even nowhere near associated or close to the biological sex of a person. And this is where they use these words to go off the deep end. And then they say there's a bunch of genders. And then they try to make them associated with male and female. I know it's confusing because it's confusing to me, but I think that's where they have gone to. And now they want you to believe that, okay, this person is a male, but they can be a female. It's confusing. Because they can make gender fluid, but then they're trying to make sex fluid to be fluid with gender, if that makes sense. it's like it's so confusing to try to explain this, but hopefully people understand the two. And so you can't just wishy-washy and intersect all of these things without being a complete nut job.